Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening. Thank you for joining the webinar today. It's really nice to see some familiar faces and welcome to NCC Education's webinar on our Level 3 International Foundation Diploma for Higher Education Studies. My name is Rebecca Gooch. I'm the Director of Quality Training and Development, and I'm sure you can see some familiar faces from our business development managers, our academic standard managers. I see Ede there. I'd like to introduce you to Hassaneh Ali, who is the Product Development Manager for the revamp and redevelopment of this specification. Welcome, Hassaneh. We will be keeping a real keen eye on the chat if you have any questions throughout this webinar. So please put any questions in there, and there will be an opportunity at the end for you to ask any further questions, time permitting. So we will get started, and just bear with me a moment and we'll get underway. Okay, so as I said, welcome everybody. So we are going to go over an introduction to our Level 3 International Foundation Diploma for Higher Education. And this is our new updated specification, moving forward into what we hope is a really excellent specification and product to take forward at your centres. We're going to explore the redevelopments within the qualifications, discuss the transition from moving to our current specification to our new specification, and highlight some key information and the next steps, which is what available to everybody once we launch the specifications and the teaching, learning and assessment materials. So just to give you a brief overview for those that are new to this qualification, the Level 3 Foundation Diploma for Higher Education Studies is really aimed to enhance students' English language, mathematics, research and study skills to progress to an English-based kind of law, finance, accounting, economics, business, or engineering undergraduate degree, or at an internationally recognised university. We have different pathways that are on offer, which include law, computer science, business, engineering, health sciences, and higher finance. The completion of the Level 3 IFD, which is the acronym that we use, should provide students with the direct entry onto their first year of a degree course at a UK university, and this can be through looking at the entry criteria and using our own articulations at NCC Education. So why are we doing this? Why have we decided to update? What is the purpose? We really want to make sure that reflecting industry changes, both vocationally and academic. We also want to make sure that we're really aligning with the educational standards and looking at different pedagogical approaches, different learning outcomes, and how to enhance the experience for students through a really varied and current and up-to-date resources for our centres as well. We also need to comply with our regulators, which are Ofqual and Qualification Wales. We have to ensure and submit our specifications to them to make sure that they are fit for purpose and they are continually improved over time to make sure that our centres and students are getting the best product available. We also act upon feedback, and that can be a range of feedback that we've had from yourselves as centres, employers, feedback from regulators, or specialist subject experts in which we've referred to and supported on for this redevelopment. And we want to ensure that we act upon those feedbacks and meet those needs and expectations as soon as possible and in the right way to ensure that, again, we produce the best product. What we really want to do as well is enhance accessibility and inclusivity to our qualifications to ensure that there's a diverse range of learners that support equity in education that's available, and that our qualifications are becoming more flexible and accessible to all learners. We also, are meeting the challenges with AI assisted generated technology, whether that's working with us and for us, or looking at addressing the advancement to reduce malpractice and maladministration at centres and guides on how to do that. But also, we've looked at how to integrate AI-assisted technology to improve the delivery, assessment, and administration of our qualifications. We've reflected on the assessment methods and looked to refine these assessment methods to make sure that they are valid, reliable, and fair, and really are a fair representation and accurate measure of learner achievement that is reflected at centres and also reflected in progressions and destinations of learners. We also want to ensure that we're enhancing quality assurance processes, that we really reflect and can continually improve the delivery of assessment and the delivery of our qualifications as a whole. So what's different, what's new with the level 3 IFD? So on the left here, this is our current specifications, okay, our 10 credit units, which are English for academic purposes, cultural studies, foundation mathematics, 20 credit units, which are advanced English language skills, study and communication skills, and a 30 credit unit, which is developing English language skills. On the right of the screen is our new specification. And what we've done is really refined and thought about the learning outcomes, the materials that are provided, and the strengthening of assessments to ensure the learners are being assessed correctly, but also given opportunities to be reassessed if possible. So 10 credit units, maths for university study, 20 credit units, developing English language skills and research and study skills for university study, and a 30 credit unit, which is our new English for academic purposes. So you can see the distinct difference there. There is no more cultural studies. I hear some centres saying, yay, no more cultural studies, but we've really reflected and acted upon the feedback for some centres as well. Elective units, okay. As you can see on the left-hand side, there are current elective units. On the right-hand side, you can see now a breadth of 11 elective units, which will demonstrate and enable students, depending on their level of entry, to gain more experience by taking more electives, which may make them more appealing for universities and give them more opportunities and the flexibility in which they can take these. Okay, and that was really, really important. And the feedback that we've got from centres is about that flexibility. Some of the feedback that we got previously is the level 3 IFD was too English based, based on some feedback from the industry experts as well. So we've really reflected and thought about options for learners, making it more flexible and providing more electives for students to take. And this will be continually added to and improved as we go over the next 2 to 3 years also. So what does that mean? What are the benefits to learners? So real enhanced relevance, so updating any specification to any qualification to make sure the content is aligned with trends, making it relevant, and applicable to real world scenarios as well. And that can really improve learners' readiness for higher education, employment, or further training and development in whatever progression or destination they choose. Really improve skill development. And what we mean by that is incorporating educational methodologies, looking at skills that are demanded by higher education, such as really explicit research skills, critical thinking, problem solving, digital literacy, and making sure that the learners have and can develop a more robust skill set that not only enables them at whatever pathway they choose, such as university employment, but actually for the rest of their educational journey and personal journey also. Really, we want to increase engagement and opportunities by having more electives and making the curriculum more interactive and engaging, therefore making it more stimulating learning environment at centres. And this might be due to some of the digital tools, some of the project-based work, and the application of our theoretical concepts. We feel that this specification prepares our learners for higher education much better than our previous specification. And it has a real focus on essential skills and knowledge and success in higher education. I'm really looking at preparing for an undergraduate study, including research skills, academic writing, and some independent learning, which is expected at the university level. Again, enhanced accessibility and inclusivity, really making learners more accessible, a diverse range of methods and teaching methods and assessment methods, and flexible options and resources to support learners with different needs, different backgrounds as well. Improved assessment methods, so really looking at more opportunities for learners to be assessed summatively. I'm sure you have formative assessments that you adopt at your centres, but there are we will still have the 4 cycles, but there will be opportunities for students to complete assessments at all 4 cycles, which we have changed but not previously included in all units, and I will explain what I mean by that as I go through this. Also, as well, I'm making sure that the qualification not only is, adaptive and reflects what we do here in the UK, but meets our international standards and it can enhance recognition by being accepted by universities and employers, and opening up a broader opportunities for learners as well. And we hope that the improvements to these specifications do that as we do some of our internal partnerships and internal relations with universities as well. I'm going to spend some time going over entry requirements and how we have and are going to provide centres with more information to be able to ensure that the learners are fully prepared for the qualification and have the correct entry minimum entry requirements. So for the level 3 IFD, what we are stipulating is that they have completed their GCSE, IGCSE or equivalent, which needs to be presented to NCC. If you can't see it in our country by country guide, which we have created for our centres to reduce that ambiguous kind of a grey area in some countries as well, some qualifications. Students need to have passed 5 subjects at a minimum C4 or again equivalent, and these should include maths and English. Students need to have a valid score of 4.5 or above with the IELTS examination or equivalents, which we have provided a table for reference points for centres, which I will demonstrate in just a moment, whose first language is not English. Alternatively, students can take the free NCC Standard English Placement Test, which you can administer, and that is equivalent to the starting point of 4.5 for our centres. If from the country by country guide or the English language requirements table, you can't see where your entry requirements or previous qualifications that the students come in with, please reach out to our academic standard managers and we can support with on a case-by-case basis, and we can do an exercise where we map that across the entry criteria and we can make adjustments accordingly. Just to break this down even further, so we have produced a country-by-country entry criteria guidance based on qualifications and equivalences with regards to GCSE, IGCSE, O levels, and it is very extensive. If you don't see that on the guide, please inform us and we can support you in that. If in any instance, again, you don't see it, please reach out to us and we can look at the evidence that you've got to say, actually, this is equivalent and we will accept this onto level 3 IFD, and we can support in doing that as well. On the screen here, you've got an English language requirements reference table in which these are the most common tests that are available and examinations to level the standard of English. Students need to have as a minimum a 4.5 IELTS examination, and what you can see here is you've got a range of examinations such as IELTS, TOEFL, Password, Skills for English, Duolingo as well, and you can see the equivalency across here as well. Again, students can take our examinations on the standard English placement test or the higher English placement tests, which I'll go on to in just a moment. We will provide this as an additional document as well, so centres can refer back to it moving forward on the new specification. So why, what we look for and work with our universities, training providers, etc. And we look at their requirements as well as our own kind of standards and expectations. So again, we're asking for a minimum requirement of the GCSE English and Maths and 5 passes and or equivalent, but also IELTS 4.5 or above. Again, students can take the standard English placement test and 40% or above can be accepted, as that is 4.5 equivalent. The higher English placement test to achieve 40% or above for students with 5.5 equivalent. The next few slides that we will go over are student options they have when they come to a centre based on core and elective units, and this is based on their entry starting points. So when a student comes to you and have they have their 5 passes and they have a 4.5, or they have to do the standard or higher English placement test as their starting points. So the next few slides about the options in which students can take for the new specification. What we've done as well, we've grouped students and provided the combination of core and electives that possibly students can take. I want to reiterate that these options are based on the starting point of your learning. So what they come to you with, and this is a recommendation. We're not forcing any student to take one pathway, take the other. These are options in which you can reach out and discuss with us, or you can determine at your centre, as long as they have the correct combination of core and electives. So group 1, for example, are students that come with a level of 4.5 IELTS or equivalent. And just referring back to the English language table there, you can refer to that. Or again, they can take a standard English placement test, which is equivalent to 4.5 for these options. Okay, so students can take 4 core units, which is developing English language, English for academic purposes, maths for university study and research study skills, and then they can select any 2 from the electives on the screen. That will give them an equivalent of 120 credits. And as you can see, for an option for these students, a lot of the core is based on the English, developing their English skills, research skills, and maths for university, alongside 2 of the elective credits that they may want to choose. Moving forward to a further option, and this is from the same kind of group of students where they have that starting point upon entry of 4.5. What they can potentially take as well is that they can take the 4 core units as previously stated. They can take 1 20 credit elective, and they can take the 2 further 10 credit units as an option as well. So an example may be, I'm a student, I want to really focus on kind of computing into a university in the UK. I may take the 4 core, I may take Introduction to Programming Python and the 2 additional units, because I know that's definitely some of the computing pathways that maybe we don't offer. So it's really important that these are options for learners, and you can take those combinations of units. What I would say that this allows is for you as centres to determine the differentiation levels of your learners. You may have some learners that really do need to develop their English skills, and these are the more appropriate options for the IFD. The next 2 options I'm going to show you are if students come to you and they have a IELTS score of 5.5 or equivalent, or using our higher English placement test. If students come to you in these kind of groups, students do not need to take developing English language skills. They will be exempt from taking this unit, and that can be identified via our course system with the evidence provided upon entry. What that means for those particular students, they have an option to take more electives, and it's an option. So you may have some students that do have 5.5, but actually they still want to take the 4 core plus the electives from that combination. That's okay. The students can still do that. That's absolutely fine. But if you have students that want to maybe broaden their opportunities in applying to different universities with different pathways, they may be exempt from DELS, which is developing English language skills. They will then take 3 core units and then 3 elective units. So, you could have a student that really wants to apply for sciences. So they have an opportunity to take chemistry, biology, and physics if they wanted to, because their pathway to university is a science route, for example. If you have students, again, that want to look in business and computing and accounting, they can take those elements, so they can take more electives as well. So broadening their opportunities depending on where they want to go after completing the level 3 foundation year. The other option available as well is that they can take still a 3 core. They can take 2 20 credit options, and then take the 2 10-credit options as well. And again, these students have their starting point at 5.5 equivalent or with our higher standard English placement test. And you may have a student that maybe is a bit unsure about what they want to do, as some students may be, and they want to have a range of electives, again, to open up opportunities when they go to different universities, or they may stay with you and complete our computing pathways at level 4, 5, and top up as well. So students have these options. We're not stipulating that you have to have these students, but what we want to make sure is that you have a flexible approach to the options that students can do on the IFD. And that is benchmarked against their entry criteria. And you as centres can assess that as well. Again, if you want further support in developing that or clarification, please reach out to our academic standard managers, and we can always follow this up, which we will follow this up with development, support, training and guides for you as well. So those are the options based on entry criteria and the starting points of your students that they can take with the new specification updates. What we're going to go on to now are differences with the core units and electives based on credit value, based on assessment methods, and the changes that we have made. So based on the core units, the Developing English Language Skills is reduced to a 20 credit and is still a 10% local examination. We've got new content in there as well, slides for all lessons, and there is more flexibility on the Developing English Language Skills and the English for academic purposes for centres and tutors to be really flexible to contextualise writing, listening, reading within their region, within their country, and have that flexibility to adapt that approach rather than us stipulating everything. So there is a flexibility in the content, and that is outlined in the specification. So for example, if I was in the UK and I wanted to start with a conversation, I may take something that is topical and in the news, for example, and start that conversation and enable learners to contextualize that to something that is meaningful to them in wherever they may be. So tutors have that flexibility and formative and the summative assessment there as well. English for academic purposes, this is a 30 credit unit, 75% local examination and 25% global assignment. We've really looked at the range in which the topics and the learning outcomes are assessed to make sure that it is fit for purpose, but also assesses learners' skill, knowledge and ability and how they apply what they are learning and have those opportunities there as well through a range of assessments and not just one assessment at the end of the year, for example. New content again, slides for everything and more flexibility. Maths for university study as a core. There will be 2 global examinations for this. I just want to reinforce where it states exam 1 and exam 2. Now, where you see exam 1, exam 2 on these slides, what that means is that exam 1, for example, may cover topics 1 to 6. And in exam 1, students will be assessed on topics 1 to 6. That will be stipulated in the specification. Exam 2, students may be assessed on unit topics 7 to 12 and 7 to 12 only in that exam. So it's really pinpointing the skills, knowledge that is being delivered in the classroom and what the students are learning. At each cycle, students will have the opportunity to take both exams. And I'll give you an example. If I start learning, delivering this qualification in March, for example, and I deliver topics 1 to 6, in the autumn cycle, learners can be entered into exam 1, for example, which will cover topics 1 to 6. If when I get those results, the learner has unfortunately failed and need to do a resit, the following cycle, they can resit exam 1. But if they opt to, in conjunction with yourselves and communication with your tutors, they can also go ahead and take exam 2. So at any one point in the 4 cycles, they can take one or both exams if they resit. The aim for this is that what we want to try and alleviate with centres and qualifications is that we don't bulk load at the end of the academic year, for example. So we don't teach long and thin and have one exam at the end. We teach in chunks. And what that enables yourselves and the tutors to track their progress. If a learner has achieved exam 1 by autumn, it means that 35% of that unit is completed, and they can focus on the next 65% of that unit, for example. And you're not leaving 100% to the end. What this means then that you have more opportunities for the students to be assessed as per our cycles with regards to resits. And it makes it really clear for your curriculum delivery with your tutors which topics should be really delivered first in which sequence. We will provide an example timetable on what this could look like based on these examinations. So exam 1 and examination 2. It's providing more opportunities for summative assessments, more differentiation, and enabling learners to have opportunities if they fail to also resit. And it makes it flexible for yourselves and the learners also. Moving on to research and study skills, that is a 75% global assignment and a 25% local exam. We have really updated the content, added new content, and updated the current content as well. Moving on to the electives. Now you can see with introductory to accounting and introductory to economics, these units have been separated and now not combined, which is good for different electives and different pathways for learners as well. And they have been split into exam 1, exam 2. And again, that will be exam 1. This will cover topics 1 to 5, for example. Exam 2 will cover topics 6 to 12, for example. So you know what the learners are going to be assessed in each exam. You know the coverage of topics for each exam. International business, again, really updated, current up-to-date content, 60% global assignment, 40% global exam. And as you can see here on the screen, further maths, physics, chemistry, biology are adopting the same approach to exam 1 and exam 2. And I know that from just seeing that on the screen, I think maybe sometimes you're going, oh, how am I going to deliver that? What would that look like? Again, we're going to provide an example timetable, and also we can reach out to academic standard managers for support on this approach for your curriculum delivery and design as well. The further 3 topics here, introduction to Python with programming, is a multiple choice questionnaire which will be a part of a local exam, and 70% global exam assignment. And this is for programming Python, introduction to computer science, and the digital world as well. And I'm sure for those of you who are on the previous webinar, that is in line with what is offered on the level 3 diploma in computing pathway that we have as well. So there are quite a few changes in assessment methods, but for the better, to have those opportunities and flexibility, and you will know what is on what coverage each exam per topic, which is obviously helpful to look at skills, application and revision for learners as well. We've really developed new content, updated content to make it accessible, to make it more engaging for learners, with different activities in the teach and learning materials, and also in the assessment methods also. So what now? So what are the next steps now moving forward in transitioning to the new specification? So all centres will have 12 months from the 1st of March 2024 to transition in adopting the new specification. The operational end date for new learners will be the 28th of February 2025. The last date of assessment for the current specification will be winter 2027. So if you decide to stay on the current specification until next year, you can. That's absolutely fine as a centre. But the last day of assessment opportunities, and that includes resits also, is winter 2027. If you have already started on the current specification for level 3 IFD, you cannot transfer in year. Students who are currently enrolled and registered onto the level 3 IFD need to complete the current specification. Any new learners that you may wish to enroll and commence delivery, you can. And the first available opportunity for learners to be assessed, to register for an assessment, will be autumn 2024. So that's this year, autumn 2024. Students can progress. So what I mean by that is that if you have a student that has completed level 3 IFD on the current specification and want to progress to our level 4, for example, they can. It doesn't matter which specification you used for those internal progressions. But just to reiterate, 12 months from the 1st of March 2024 to transition onto the new specification. After that, there will be no new learners accepted beyond the 28th of February 2025. So the next steps following this webinar, on the 1st of February, which is Thursday, you'll be able to access the VLE, and the following resources will be available. This webinar, along with the recording, will be available, and with the PowerPoint slides will also be available. Entry criteria guidance that relates to the language table reference table, and some guidance, further guidance and entry requirements. A transition guide, which will go over instances such as registration is the same, quality assurance processes remain the same, and highlight any differences in transitions with policy procedure at NCC, and also assist in providing training and support for yourselves. Key dates, which will reaffirm operational end dates, last date of cycles that can potentially be used for the current specification, and when the new specification can commence delivery, and when you can enrol learners and register for assessments on the new specification. And you will also have the activity schedule update for the remainder of 2024 with the autumn and winter assessment dates for the new specification. You'll also have links to support and training as well, to webinars with our ASMs, and also please reach out if you have any further questions to our ASMs following this webinar also. So on the 26th of February 2024, centres will be able to access all specifications and teaching, learning and assessment materials via the VLE. Centres can enrol learners onto the new specification via our registration and certification system Quartz. You can also, if you wanted to, register learners for the autumn 2024 cycle for the new specification. And from this point, you can commence delivery with those teaching learning materials on the VLE. A marketing kit will also be provided on the 26th of February, also to centres as well. Thank you very much for joining today. I know that was a lot of information to take in. We will follow the PowerPoint up ready on the 1st of February on the VLE for everybody to access. What I am going to do as well is put in the chat the link to a Microsoft Forms if after we finish this webinar you have further requirements and feedback as well. So what I'm going to do now is just take an opportunity just to have a look in the chat. I know there's been some hive of activity as well. And I will kind of liaise with myself and Hassanay to take any questions also. So I'm just going to focus a little bit on the questions within the chat. The recording definitely will be shared as well. Hassanay has also put some responses in there as well. The difference between taking 4 and 3 is the entry point of entry of the learner. So if a learner has IELTS 4.5, the recommendation is they take the 4 core units plus either the 2 electives or 2 further 10 credit units. The 3 core is that if a learner has a 5.5 upon entry, then they can take more electives and they will be exempt from the developing English language skills also. Are there any further questions? Does anybody want to put any further questions in the chat? There's a question just in here about there's a change from the current system. Can you just expand on what you mean by that? To register learner for exams, it's exactly the same process. You just have to select the exam option 1 or exam option 2, sorry, in the cycle in which you want to take. So just to reiterate the last question there, following the specification release, students who want to achieve a higher grade in a unit or a component they have already passed will have the opportunity to take 1 retake. So for example, if I achieve a mark of 40 in a unit and I want to achieve a higher grade, I can then put in for a retake, which is at a cost, and I have 1 opportunity to gain a higher mark only. So for example, if I achieve a 49 and then get a 55, we will take the 55 as the highest grade. However, if I am a student and I want to retake, okay, then what that means is that if I do a retake and I achieve a lower mark than my previous mark, the higher mark will still stand. Currently, the retake does apply across level 3 diploma in computing and level 3 foundation diploma only. We will take this back and review across level 4 and 5 also. The NCQs are provided by us as part of a local examination. So just following up on the question here, if a student takes Math 1 in the semester, can he take this exam for the next semester? So we'll take both Math 1 and Math 2 together? Yeah, absolutely. They have those options. With the What's Next booklet, I will take that away with our partnerships from there as well. Those presentations will be provided as well. We have been working with UCAS this week also in communication with regards to tariff points as well. So when we hear back with some confirmation, we will update our centres with regards to the correct tariff points and where to find it on the UCAS website also. Once we have that confirmation from UCAS, we can share that. Are there any further questions that anybody would like to ask? Thank you. That's really good to hear with the new additions. Great. Yes, we really want to adapt a really holistic approach and be as flexible and create as many opportunities as possible. I am going to just pop in the chat as well the link to the Microsoft Office forms. So if after when we finish this webinar, you have any further questions, please either put it in the forms and we will collate them and provide feedback, or you can reach out to an academic standards manager who will get back to you also. Okay, if there are no further questions, we will finish that. Oh, one more. The specification will be available from the 26th of February via the VLE, and we will send an announcement out to let you know that it's ready to view. We will finish there. Thank you very much for attending today. I wish you a lovely rest of the day and a really productive rest of the week. Thank you very much for joining.